All right, welcome to the January 8th Shellfish Committee meeting. Before starting, I want to make a notice of recording. Please note that tonight's meeting is recorded and broadcast on Channel 18, and in accordance with MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20, I must inquire whether anyone is taping this meeting and to please make their presence known. All right, and then if she wants to come in.
Sarah, would you like to come in? Hi, everybody. So I'm just going to give a brief overview of the new microphone system in this room because it literally picks up everything, especially for the people on the perimeter. If you need to have a side conversation or anything like that, you do need to leave the room because it will pick up everything you say. It no longer just picks up the loudest thing in the room, it picks up everything in the room. Pen tapping, anything like that. It's super sensitive. So that being said, just be aware that whatever you say in this room will be heard by the public because we are recording the meeting. If you do need to have a conversation, I'm going to shut not this door, but the next door has a glass window so people know that they can come in, but you need to go all the way back out to the stairwell to have that side conversation if you decide that you want to do that. But just be aware that everything you say within this room and in this hallway will be heard and recorded for posterity. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, first on the agenda, we're gonna approve the meeting minutes from December 11th, 2024. Any discussion?
Make a motion that we accept the minutes of December 11th, 2024 as published.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Say aye. Any against? Nay. Or no. Excuse me. All right, next, I just want to introduce Tim Hamill, new member of the committee. He's replacing Al Supernaut, which I was not aware that he had even left, but welcome Tim, and see you every once a month, every second Wednesday. So, third, we'll go to Amy for the natural resources report.
Okay, so I don't have any growing area updates. I leave it on the agenda for every month because usually I do, but I don't have whether or not Mills River Prince Cove is going to open on time yet or not. It's still a little bit early because apparently the 8th of January is the second Wednesday in January this year. Yay! Propagation report for this month. January 2025, this was submitted by Amanda Lee, who is one of our shellfish technicians. Our seasonal Aiden has left us. His contribution and craftsmanship skills will be sorely missed, which is true. Planted oysters that were bought through the commercial Ugly program and planted those at Scudder. Had 7 participants in the Ugly program, totaling 22,900 pieces, which were bought at 35 cents a piece. Went a little over budget and spent $8,015. I think we had budgeted initially $7,500. So thank you to the people who participated. Our recreational fishermen have been happy with the increased number of oysters available, and honestly, at the size of the oysters, there's a lot of people that like big oysters out there. I don't know why the markets are so heavily focused on petites. We've continued to routine maintenance on our quahog predator exclusion nets to reduce algal growth. Winter's given us time to repair some of our broken gear. This includes reworking a new trash pump, repairing the holes in our Flexi cavity tank, as well as our silos. They've been systematically replacing old oyster bags with new suitcase bags. In addition, they've also been working on repairing old oyster trays in preparation for the new growing season. As they look forward to spring, they're gearing up to create a new education program that will bring shellfishing to students in Hyannis. They're excited about this new endeavor and opportunity to share aquaculture with a new population. Orders for next year's stock have already been placed. They'll be growing quahogs, oysters, and scallops. Any questions on the monthly propagation report?
Hi.
Just sign in.
Oh, sure.
Are we out of chairs? Oh no, there's one chair. My bag does not need a chair. And you can sit right there, sir.
Thank you.
All right, no questions on that regard? Okay.
So we did have commercial opening at Bay Street that was effective January 1st. I did get some calls from people that were like, hey, there's, guys digging out there and it's not, a Wednesday, but it did open commercially. And the last thing is I've been assigned to a task force that I only just found out about today, developing draft regulations with Division of Marine Fisheries pertaining to the removal of derelict aquaculture gear. In December, the Massachusetts legislature passed a derelict fishing gear bill under a budget amendment. A new law now allows for the efficient and timely removal of abandoned, lost, and derelict fishing gear from our shorelines and waters. It gives DMF, through the Marine Fisheries Advisory Commission, the authority to regulate and permit certain removal and disposal activities. This amends an antiquated law dating back to the time of salvageable wooden traps that bestowed property rights to this gear at sea and on shore and afforded its owners 30 days to recover the gear washed ashore and 60 days before property rights were ceded to the upland owner. So the initial focus of the task force was fishing gear, lobster traps, but there's a need to also focus on derelict aquaculture gear. So I have that meeting, is it this Friday or next Friday? Next Friday? Yeah. So that's brand new as of literally right now. And then I think that's all I have for natural resources correspondence. We didn't do year-to-date permit sales because Polly is very new and because Alicia's not here till probably sometime in March. And because we just started renewal season, but Nina has assured me that, and I can tell from how busy the people are at the front desk, that renewal season is very much underway and is very much going well. So with that, I'll take any questions from the committee.
Anything from the public? All right. I guess we'll go on to new business. The first thing up is review of the apprenticeship permit application.
Yep, so I tried to, for this meeting, be a little bit more, like New Year's resolutions, right? So I had sent out to committee members meeting materials, which included this document. I've had a total of technically six commercial permit holders offers to be sponsors for a total of 4 children in town. And we had no actual application for this program to speak of and no actual formal way of documenting the 400 hours that are required to complete the program. So we took some time over the holiday weekend and made one. And basically what it has is just the regulation itself, which kind of explains how the apprentice program works, who's eligible for it, what you have to do to participate in it. And then just with a little, clause that due to the minimum age requirement for commercial state permit and transaction card, that no town of Barnstable commercial shellfish permit would be issued to an individual who's completed the program until they're the age of 14, because they can't get a state permit until they're 14. So it would make no sense to issue them a town permit if they don't have the state permit to go along with it, because that's part of the regulations. So I have space for the applicant name, their date of birth, telephone and email where applicable, their current address, and then any number of sponsors that have commercial permits that are willing to do the work with them. How we decided to take on documentation of the 400 hours was to put the onus on the sponsors, because it really shouldn't be my job to make sure that you guys are, properly moving forth with your sponsorship. So when a sponsor will be taking out an apprentice, the sponsor must call Natural Resources, not me, the actual landline, whether it's during normal business hours or not. If it's not during business hours, just leave a voicemail stating what date and time the sponsor is taking the apprentice out, where the apprentice will be working with them that day, and what species of shellfish are being targeted for harvest. When the apprentice is done working with a sponsor or sponsors for that day, they then again have to call Natural Resources to let us know that they've completed X amount of hours for that day if we for some reason didn't see them in the field. A record of completed hours will be kept by Natural Resources. I have received my first application for the apprentice program and have created a little Excel sheet that has, their name, the sponsor's information, and then all of the information that would be required so we can tally the hours. And that's how we're planning on people applying for it and also for documenting the 400 hours. So obviously this was vetted through our staff, but I did want to take the opportunity to share it with you guys. And we actually have, I believe, 3 individuals here. One that's already actively applied for the sponsorship program and can start hours whenever. And then 2 others that I'm waiting for their applications, but they're also here today. So I didn't know if you guys would like to take the opportunity to introduce yourselves, since you, Hank and Shelley, are the ones who kind of got the ball rolling with this. We'll start with you guys.
I'm Hank Sanzali. This is my wife, Shelley Sanzali. Our daughters, Clarissa and Gloria, and they are the ones applying.
Nice. You guys excited to learn the aspects of commercial shellfishing?
Yeah.
Awesome. You like being out on the water? Excellent. Well, we welcome you once we get your applications in.
Can we leave them with you now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then Joe, you have here your daughter?
Yep, I'm Joe Weinberg. This is my daughter Olivia, and she'll be helping me out, starting soon, I hope, if it gets a little warmer.
That's fair. I wouldn't necessarily want to start a sponsorship this week either, but that's just me. And then new Shellfish Committee member, Tim, you also have a daughter who I believe you have your application
Yes,
today.
I do. Her name is Gemma. She is not able to make it tonight. But, she'll be first, and then Louise second at some point.
Awesome. And then do you guys have any questions about the requirements? I mean, they're pretty straightforward. It's just, a checks and balances. I think it seemed relatively fair in terms of reporting. Everything's good?
My only question is, now that the application's in, can they start at any time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no apprentice permit that's mentioned, but having this is their application for it. And then once you start calling, and we'll start documenting hours, and we'll just move forward from there.
Excellent. Thank you.
I think it's great that all these kids are going shellfishing, and it's a great opportunity, and I don't really have any problem with any of it, and all looks like it's been, it's all the hours and everything are taken care of by the staff and stuff, but one thing I would like to just kind of talk about is that maybe there should be a stipulation that if the kids decide to grow up and then go move away, that the permit just doesn't become an extra permit in the pool, that, you know what I mean, it just gets dissolved, they can have it for the rest of their life, but I don't wanna see, everybody have kids come and go, and then slowly the amount of permits is increasing.
We did address that when we made the regulation change. So after a successful completion of the apprentice program, the apprentice has to hold and pay for their permit for an additional 5 years in order for that permit number to be added to the closed fishery. Which is consistent with the original
Yeah, but what
period
if you
of
go
an
to medical
aquaculture
school? I mean,
license.
I just think that just in general, I mean, it's hard to say, because 5 years, you do a leap year, then you go to school. It's kind of like you could have it permanent and then still leave and go to work a job after college. You know what I'm saying? If it's only 5 years, 18 plus 5 years is 23. So that's kind of like a little, you did an extra year in college. So you're working, do you know what I'm saying? So I think it should just be, a special permit that you can have for the rest of your life, and then if you get it through this way, then you decide to leave, then it just doesn't increase the number of commercial permits in the pool.
So I think the intent of the apprentice program when the fishery was closed was that it provides opportunity for new permits to be added to the closed fishery.
Yeah, and they are the permits that are added, but not increasing. The 47 licenses will always be 47 licenses, with the exception of someone that gets through the apprentice program. And then with somebody gets it through because they're not getting it on the lottery is for the 47 licenses. You get it through the apprentice program. No matter at any stage you lose that, it should just still be there's the 47 licenses for the for the lottery.
No, yeah, I understand that. I'm just saying that to my understanding, the purpose of the apprentice program was to provide a framework for
Increasing.
additional permits to be added to the closed fishery. That was like that was the way for which the closed fishery would stay closed but would have a little bit of flux.
Yeah.
Like, I don't expect that every single child that goes into the apprentice program will necessarily want to continue on
Mhm.
even for 5 years, much less more.
But you just gotta assume that you don't want it to get out of hand, because you know, there's a lot of kids in this town. There's a lot of people that are fishing. You know what I mean? Like,
I do.
it's
yeah.
not just people that have commercial licenses. Either, you know what I mean?
Well, I
There's
think
like-
this is
there's
the first time that the apprentice program there's been interest in it since, Paul, when did you graduate from it?
Sometime in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even Jake Burnham was probably sometime in the late 90s, early 2000s. And so, you know, we'll roll with this
Mhm.
for a hot minute and see how it pans out.
Mhm.
And then if we feel that it's getting out of hand, it's something we can always revisit, but I don't necessarily want to make a problem out of something that's not a problem.
We don't need to just make a rule, like talk about it, and then make it just so that it is, because.
Where were you when we rewrote this
Well, I
regulation
did.
last year?
I actually was there, and I brought this up, and you were like, "Oh no, it's just."
Everybody seemed like 5 years was fine.
No, I know, but I just it didn't. It was just something that got just kind of just. I felt like at that time we weren't willing to entertain the discussion or anything.
Oh, okay.
You know, that's just how I felt.
Well, okay. I say we'll roll with it for now.
Okay.
And we'll see how it pans out. And if I all of a sudden have like 30 children that are interested in the apprentice program and we feel like this could result in us going from a 47 permit fishery to a 70 permit fishery, then
Mhm.
I think we could definitely revisit that.
Okay.
I think it is a pretty good point. Like you say, if somebody's stopping like this, like, so if you have 10 stoppages in fishing, does that increase to 57 now in the lot, like?
That's like still too many with the amount of.
Yeah, so I
If we
get
had
the-
10 more people in the fishery right now, I don't think anybody in the fishery would really like it.
But you could have 10 more people in the fishery right now.
Could you though? Yeah, you
if-
could. You
if
could have
10
100 more if you
people-
really
if 10
wanted to.
people that
but-
don't use their permits on the regular don't renew,
Yeah.
and 10 people out of the lottery get permits and
Yeah.
decide to use them, then you could.
No, but that's like the 47 that are already existing. Not now. What if like now if 10 kids now leave and then 10 people that don't use the permit then leave? Now you have 20 new permits on the. Just like and we're talking even 4 years. You got
And additions.
5 years.
Well, it's also, I mean, these people that are in the apprentice program have to do the 400 hours.
Yeah.
They have to do the border safety course, and then after they get issued a town permit, have to hold that permit for 5 years before it would be added in full time to the fishery. It's a lot of time
What about some
and a
sort
lot of investment,
Yeah.
and it's probably not going to be for everyone that participates in it. So I think, where this is kind of, it was an existing regulation, but is in a rebirth of implementation. Like, let's just give it a minute and see how it plays out.
Yeah, okay, and then just one more, just, then we do revisit it in 10 years or 5 years or whatever, 15 years, whatever it is, then then we have all this, now we have all this other pressure against it, saying, oh, I signed up. And I don't know if it's gonna change like how you feel now. I think that, I don't know, I would really like to talk about adding it to the thing. Just for peace of mind, for the people that are in the fishery, that's all.
Okay, I'll entertain it.
Thank you.
And there's no limits or anything yet, or, I mean, is there any plan as far as how much a
I've been here for
year, or-
18 years, and these are the only people that have ever showed any interest in it. But we obviously have some fishing families that want to carry on that tradition through the use of this program. That's what it was designed for. And so I don't see any harm in rolling with it. And I'm not saying like, let's wait for 5 years and see however many more of you decide to have children or decide to sponsor a niece or a nephew or whatever. I'm just saying, like, it's not something that I don't think you really have to, I mean, I understand you worrying about, like, projecting into the
But
future.
yeah, I don't wanna just have to revisit it when we're talking about it now, kind of thing.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, I'll give it some thought.
Thanks.
But I just don't want to make any regulatory changes based on like projected issues.
No limit, I would never suggest a limit to how many applicants can apply for the program in the town.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Just a
anyone, yeah.
non-renewable license
yeah.
upon,
Mhm.
On a license with
a
extras.
non-renewable license upon, I guess, forfeiture, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For to the lot.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let me think on that.
So,
Any comments from the public?
Can I ask a question? Just 'cause I'm trying to find it online, but instead of looking, is there a renewal fee every year for the commercial permit?
Yeah, it's $350 for a master senior permit and then $550 annually for a master permit.
Okay, so that would in itself kind of limit people who don't really use the license. At some point, they're gonna be like, why am I paying for this? I'm not using it.
I find
Theoretically.
that really only happens when
Yeah.
certain people reach a certain age.
A lot of people keep them for a long time.
Otherwise, you know, like it's not where it's a closed fishery, it's not a bad investment to make because depending on, you know, what fish are available and what you get at market, it could be a massive payday from time to time. It can be money when like your other form of employment isn't paying the way you want it to. It's kind of, you know, it has value outside of the cost of paying for it annually,
But then they'd be
in my
using
opinion,
it.
anyway.
Then they'd be using it, so it's.
Not
No,
necessarily.
Okay.
There are no
Yeah, it's
there is
insurance
no
policy.
there are no quotas or catch limits for our wild harvesters. The only like, you know, minimum production standards or like, you know, quotas, I guess if you want to call it that, are on our aquaculturists, and that's because they're paying to privately lease and make money off of what would otherwise be public land. These are people who are paying for a state commercial permit. They have a commercial permit from the town that allows them to fish and make money off of the land, but they don't have to use it. And for that reason, they become coveted in a closed fishery and can hold more value than they're worth.
Anything else? All right, let's move on to regulation changes.
Yeah, so these can be for initial read, but if you feel like voting on them, have at it, because I wouldn't mind. We had done the 60-day emergency request to amend cohog limits in SC 18 and in CCB 30, increasing them to what did you say it was? Nobody's been doing it. 20 bushels a day, I think, yeah. Except with the exception of Sundays, because Sundays are not going to be a wild harvest day, no matter how many times Jason asks me. So what I'm looking to do is just change the regulations, because if the fishery is there, the fishery is there and people can use it. Anyone can make use of this, whether you're a hand digger or a dry dragger, doesn't matter. If you decide to fish these outer harbor areas, you would be able to get more bushels per day. If the fishery isn't there, it's literally just extra words that we pay for in a regulation book, so I don't see any harm in it. I've been speaking to, you know, fishermen as I see them. The people that I work with are on board with this. And so instead of like appealing to the town manager, which to extend this emergency order, which would require town council approval, I'm saying let's just roll with the regulation change. So it would still keep all of the inner embayment limits the same. You wouldn't be able to combine your limits to get a total of like 25, let's say, for the day. But it would just make the changes that we had done through emergency amendment permanent. And then the other thing that has not been vetted yet, and I imagine will be just for initial review, is once we shrank the size of the closed to commercial zone in Barnstable Harbor, the regulations as it speaks to commercial closures just said that you can't shellfish in Barnstable Harbor commercially, which doesn't make any sense because now you can. So we had to define the area. So the way that we defined it was similar to the way that we defined it in like the Scudder Lane rec area, which is the, you know, portion of Barnstable Harbor drawn northwest from a pole at Harris Meadow Lane, and those are the coordinates of said pole, to a closed commercial shellfishing sign located on the northwest tip of Huckins Island. That is the coordinates of the sign that is at the northwestern tip. If you're out there on the line, you know we also put 2 pink buoys out there, red, pink, whatever color you want to call them. Southeast around Huckins Island to a closed commercial shellfishing sign on the southern flat of Huckins Island, which is out there now, drawn with a line drawn south to the closed to commercial shellfishing sign at Cow's Pasture Point. So that just basically defines now that little bloop around Huckins that is closed to commercial. And then also the town's website in our regulations was not correct, it was outdated. So I would like to change those.
Any discussion? You guys, I
Does the
entertain a
public have
motion.
any discussion?
Yeah, public, anything?
I'll make a motion to approve both of these, regulation changes for, the commercial harvest limits. Is there a regulation number of 407?
So it's 407, 21, 407, 22, and 407, 45, which is not on the agenda but is included here.
Okay, make a motion to approve 407, 21, 407, 22, 407, 44, and 407, 45.
Just 45.
Yeah, just 45, no 44. Yeah.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say nay. All right, that's passed.
Makes my life much easier.
All right, and then next we have the addition of the definition of the closed, or is that,
Oh,
that's,
I
that was
had it
part
as
of
a
it.
separate thing
You
and
were
had
right,
the wrong
44.
number.
Oh.
No, it is 45, I put it on the
Well,
agenda.
I thought you said there was another one that wasn't listed here.
No, I thought it wasn't
Okay.
listed.
It's the line below.
Yeah, it's the line below.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's it for new business?
That's it for new business.
Okay. All right, next we got, upcoming renewal and transfer hearings, which we got 6 of them. So we'll start with the first one. It's the renewal of aquaculturist license site NG 002 for Dennis Connery, for a period of 10 years. Amy, where?
So this is in Barnstable Harbor.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you.
So this is Dennis's site out here. So he's in like the northern section of the aquaculture zone in Barnstable Harbor, but in like the southwestern tip of the northern section of the aquaculture zone. If that makes any sense at all. That's where that is. And we have approximately 2 acres that are involved with a mean low water depth of 0 feet, high between 8 and 10. We have firm sandy substrate with no natural shellfish present. Grow oysters, possibly hard clams, hand dug bottom and off bottom, no unnatural substrate, and then obviously grow it to marketable size. They harvest the shellfish by hand, culling oysters, hand digging hard clams. They don't formally use a predator control program, but they do use bag and tray protection. It is not sole means of support, and Dennis does employ outside help in his operation, who's here today, Dave Cranshaw. And looking for a 10-year renewal, this site was first issued in 1999, so 99-11 means it was the 11th license issued in 1999. So it's definitely eligible for a 10-year renewal. Natural Resources doesn't have any opposition to the renewal. They're really good about submitting paperwork on time annually. We do, a number of compliance checks with Dave every year. Everything's on the up and up, so I will turn it over to the committee for discussion.
Yep.
I was just gonna say, do you wanna do them all at once?
Nah,
You can't do that? Okay.
We gotta go
Okay.
through each one.
Alright.
A lot.
Yeah. Anything from the committee? Any questions? No? Anything from public? All right, I'll entertain a motion to recommend 2 the town manager to approve the renewal of license site NG 002 for Dennis Connery.
I'll make a motion.
All right, second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Well, that was hard.
Well, I almost skipped that whole portion there. All right, next we have the hearing for the issuance of license site NG 35 to Leonard Clark for a period of 5 years.
Yeah, so this was, after we had gone through aquaculture regulatory reform, and made some, consolidation amendments, concessions, agreements, etc. I decided it would be best to offer this random 1 acre site that nobody has ever held to the wait list. Since we did some stuff for the aquaculturists, give it to the wait list. And number 1 person on the wait list for the north side, who's been on the wait list, I believe, since 2010, is Leonard Clark. And so this is the location of that site. It's on the northeastern tip of the southern portion of the aquaculture zone in Barnstable Harbor. And this is his application. Lenny is here today. He resides at 398 Woodside in West Barnstable. It's 1 acre with a mean low water depth of 0 feet, mean high water of 9.5. Sandy bottom with no existing natural shellfish populations, planning on cultivating cohogs and oysters, possibly softshell clams and butter clams, rack and bag with nets per regulations of DNR, bottom and off bottom cultivation, no use of unnatural substrate, and this will be obviously a grow out operation. Harvest by hand and rakes, a predator control program is planned on being used. It is not his sole means of support, and he does seek to employ outside help. Because this is a new aquaculture license, it's only eligible for 5 years, so he's asked for a period of 5 years, and these are kind of the specs and lets and longs of the site. He did provide to the satisfaction of the licensing authority his previous 12 months of domicile. And yeah, I mean, he's here to answer any questions, but I would turn it over to the committee. Natural Resources doesn't have any opposition with this site being offered to him. He fits within our existing regulations for anyone applying for an aquaculture site.
Yep, it's a spot right near my grant, and I mean, it's just open space, so I'm glad someone can use it, and congratulations, and
Congratulations, Leonard.
looking forward to seeing you out there. We need to vote.
Yeah, I
on
mean,
this.
I
This
guess
is
like
already
if you guys
approved.
have to, well, so the hearing, none of the hearings for these have taken
Okay.
place yet. Public
Okay.
hearings for all of these are scheduled after this meeting.
Okay.
So you can discuss it as committee, can open it up to the public, and then can, make your recommendation.
Okay, any comments from committee, public? All right, I'll entertain a motion to recommend to the town manager for the approval of license site, NG 35 to Leonard Clark.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Congrats.
Thank you.
All right, third, we got the renewal of license site NG 56 for Aaron Hemela, for a period of 10 years.
We're taking a trip outside of the aquaculture zone for this one. So like the one most frequented by humans that are not aquaculturists, NG 056, which is outside of Bone Hill Road in Barnstable Harbor. Do you guys like the screenshots of the sites?
Yeah.
Is that
Yes.
helpful?
Yeah.
All right, so not just Stuart wanted that
When I sold them, Steve.
Oh, I love them.
He helped
I
them
love
plan
the
it.
satellite images.
Good
Yeah.
then.
First grade. Something new with them.
I know.
Oh, you guys weren't
Just-
here
yeah.
for the,
That
this
here's
is the new ears up there, and if you have any side conversation, you just have to take it out to the stairwell, cause it literally hears everything.
All good.
Oops.
Oops, yeah. So this hearing's gonna be on the 22nd at 10 a.m. I think we have all three of these that same day, a half hour after one another. There's 2 acres involved, mean low water depth of 0 feet, mean high water of 11 feet. There's some mud and silty sand. No observed existing natural shellfish populations. They grow primarily oysters. They have no plans at this time, but only species and methods that are approved by the town if they determine they want to cultivate something else. They'll continue with oyster cages on the bottom as well as line and bag system, which is what they have out there. Well, not more of it now, but what they typically have out there. They are harvesting their shellfish by hand. And they institute a predator control program, but it's only manually removing predators from sites. So there's nothing that's actually like installed. This is their sole means of support, and they do employ outside help in their operation. And their requested term of renewal is 10 years. So this is their first renewal after, I think it was a transfer from somebody else. So this is the first time that Aaron's up for a 10-year renewal. Natural Resources doesn't have any opposition to this renewal. The Hemelas and Barnstable Sea Farm are stable in our blue economy. They're up to date on all of their paperwork and domicile requirements. Acreage fees is required by the end of the year. And actually most everybody has already turned in their annual reports, even though they're not due till the end of February. So good job, aquaculture people.
Any discussion, committee? Public? All right, I'll entertain a motion for the town manager to approve the license site NG 56 for Aaron Hemela for a period of 10 years.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Second, all right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Fourth, we have the hearing for the renewal of license site NG 24 for Paul Hamlin, owner of Spring Creek Shellfish, for a period of 10 years.
So this is his site. It's kind of on like the eastern-ish end, close to the middle of the northern section of the aquaculture zone in Barnstable Harbor. And all of these are in the one thing. And these will all be in person in this room, 11 a.m. on January 28th at the request of Mr. Hamlin. So this in particular site is 1.99 acres, mean low water depth of 0 feet, mean high water depth of 9 feet. There's sand, silt, and clay mixture for bottom, very little natural shellfish, occasionally soft shell clams. He'll be cultivating oysters and quahogs, nothing else at this time. Oysters are grown off bottom in oyster trays and grow out bags of various sizes. Quahogs uses bottom culture under nets to protect from predators. Both species to be grown out to market size. Method of harvest is by hand and rake. Netting on quahogs is a predator control program. This is his sole means of support. And he does employ outside help. He's requesting 10 years. This was, I think, like as a result of, I think you and your mom had done a transfer like 5 years ago from one to the other. So this is his first time that he's eligible for a 10-year renewal, but Paul's been out on the flats as a grower for a number of years. Natural Resources doesn't have any opposition to this renewal either, for the same reasons mentioned for the other 2 renewals, and turn it over to the committee.
All right, and this gives you 4 acres, or
This
Well,
is
is
just
this
his
one-
initial
The
2.
next one, well,
initial 2 and then the
Yeah.
next, okay. Any discussion, committee, public? I entertain a motion to recommend to the town manager to approve the renewal of license site NG 24 for Paul Hamlin, for a period of 10 years. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Alright. And next we have the hearing for the transfer of license site NG 16 from Christina Laurie to Paul Hamlin, owner of Spring Creek Shellfish. The new license will be for a period of 5 years.
Yes. Because it's a transfer, even though Paul is an established grower, it's still treated as a new application and is therefore only eligible for a 5-year license as the original license. This is the site in question. You can see this is his other existing site right here. And so she's more in the middle, like kind of smack dab in the middle, really, of the northern portion of the aquaculture zone in the harbor. So this is 2 acres, mean low water depth of 0 feet, mean high water of 9 feet, with sand, silt, and clay mixture on the bottom. And again, same situation. They're very, they're basically neighbors, so very little natural shellfish, occasional soft shell clams. Planning on cultivating oysters and quahogs in a similar fashion as the other site that he applied for renewal. He does plan on netting the quahogs and will harvest the shellfish by hand and rake. Again, this is his sole means of support. He does employ outside help, and this would be for a 5-year period because, again, it's treated as a new license. This is the letter that is required from his mom requesting the transfer upon expiration of her 5-year lease, which would be on the 23rd of January, if my mind serves me correctly. And that is the specifications of the site right there. Natural Resources doesn't have any opposition to this transfer. It does fall under our new regulations that allow any individual to hold up to 4 acres on either side of town. So this would put Paul from 2 to 4.
Any discussion? Public? All right, I entertain a motion to recommend to the town manager to approve the transfer of site NG 16 from Christina Laurie to Paul Hamlin, and the license will be under a period of 5 years. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Alright. And then the last one. Hearing for the transfer of license site NG 46 from Christopher Van Duzer to Kimberly Hamlin, manager Spring Creek Shellfish. The new license would be for a period of 5 years.
It's on this one. There we go.
Yep.
As it turned out, the screenshot that I took of NGO 46 had exactly 0 bytes in it, so it didn't actually show up for today. Well, luckily, it's on the one that I made for NGO 35. So this is NGO 46. As you can see, kind of has a this is, I think, an slightly older aerial from like 2020 maybe. It has a river running through it. So it's marginally usable, but doesn't tend to meet our minimum investment standards. And so annually, usually a letter is written to request retention of the license in the hopes that it will be workable. And this is for a transfer of that site to Kimberly Hamlin, who is the manager of Spring Creek Shellfish and Paul's wife. So this is 1.05 acres, mean low water depth of 1 to 2 feet with a high water depth of 10 feet, sand, silt, clay mixture, little to no natural shellfish, some soft shell clams. This would be suitable at this point in time for oysters. Grant has very little usable area due to the shifting of sands. Most of this grant is underwater and has been a navigable channel used by other grant holders. Still like to hold the license in the event that sand/channel shift, again, making the area usable. Oysters would be grown on a rack and bag system. Proposed method of harvest would be by hand. No predator control program would be needed. This would not be part of his sole means of support at this time, and he would not need to employ would not need to employ any outside help in the operation. And the request, because this is a transfer, would be for a period of 5 years. This is the letter from Chris wishing to transfer his site to Kimberly, and she did provide her 12 months proof of domicile. as required under our regulations. Natural Resources doesn't have any opposition to the transfer of this site. It's been managed by Paul anyway, and so, the transfer as part of our regulatory change and consolidation efforts makes sense. And so we don't have any issue with the transfer.
When was the last time that had sand on it?
That was probably before my time even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, any discussion? I'll entertain a motion, to recommend to the town manager to approve the transfer of license site NG 46 from Chris Van Duzer, to Kimberly Hamlin, manager of Spring Creek Shellfish. The new issuance would be for a period of 5 years.
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Alright, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Alright, that's it for the transfers.
Eventually, we will reach a point where consolidation has happened, but we're
Oh, yeah.
not even close
I
yet.
bet.
So I hope you guys like reviewing these every month because they gonna keep coming.
That's fine. No upcoming, coastal projects. So old business, proposed razor clamming regulations, temperature restrictions, minimum size limits, if we're ready for a vote, but we'll run through them quick.
Yeah, so I had promised last month that I would come back with some regulation changes based on the discussions that we had around minimum size limits and temperature restrictions for razors. So this is the recreational regulation that speaks to minimum size limits for everything else. And I would be adding jackknife razor clams less than 4 inches in total shell length, the amount of more than 5% any batch. Because we decided that it addresses the need for protection of razor clams that have not yet had an opportunity to spawn, in recognition that the state does not have established minimum size limits for this species. Similarly, we're still in rec regs. So this is the recreational regulation that speaks to shellfishery conservation and management. I did take Tyler Hagenstein's request to IT for a widget of some sort on the town's website that would state what the temperature is on the north side versus the south side. That was not received well, and the comment was, I know, yeah. So the comment was, it would be easier to refer to either a long list of people's personal, like, weather stations at their houses, which we as a municipality didn't feel comfortable doing because if somebody doesn't maintain it, I've had nothing but trouble with the AccuRite rainfall gauges that I've been trying to implement for the past 5 years now. And so we went the governmental route, which was another suggestion of theirs, tying it to the National Weather Service station that's located at the airport. So this link would be provided on the shellfishing page. So you could go click on it, see what the temperature is at the airport, and that would be what we would be using for enforcement purposes out in the field. I know that it may, in some instances, result in more fishing days or less fishing days or hours because it's obviously not at the specific sites that you would be at fishing. But similar to the Boston tide calendar that we use for our low tide enforcement and sunrise and sunset enforcement, it's something that we can tie to for very straightforward enforcement. And we thought that it was reasonable because it always produces information. It's what the state used to defer to for rainfall closures prior to us having I have a physical rainfall gauge at the office, and we'll be getting 2 more physical ones that we'll be checking on the regular because I'm basically throwing the AccuRites in the trash at this point. And then the other thing was, I noticed under transport of seed restriction that we used to just restrict it to clams, quahogs, oysters, or scallops, but really nobody should be moving seed unless you're an aquaculturist of any kind, so I would just like to make that shellfish of any species, because what are you doing? Don't do that. And then similarly, 40715 is shellfish conservation and management under our commercial regulations, so tying it to the National Weather Station. You can't move any seed shellfish. And then this piece has been, I don't think that should be
Green.
there. I don't think that should be green. That's already in the regulations. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry, no. They removed it from section 1 due to, they removed it from where like the general fines are just sort of listed. So now there is no fine in place for malicious destruction of shellfish habitat. And in my opinion, malicious destruction of shellfish habitat is unacceptable and needs to carry a hefty fine. We've only had really one instance arise, and it wasn't through commercial shellfishing, it was through a coastal project that just had egregious damage, and people need to be held accountable for that. So we'd like to put it back in to the regulations so that way it's there, because right now it's missing from everywhere.
Mark, go ahead.
Good question. So would the size and temperature restrictions for razoring apply to any razoring done on the aquaculture grants?
No, because you guys fall under, like, what you farm on your farm, it's like how if you're in Barnstable Harbor, even though it's an ACEC, if you do soft shell clams on your site, you can hydraulically harvest them. Whereas you cannot hydraulically harvest anything else in Barnstable Harbor. It's just what's permitted, like it's through the Army Corps permit. So it's beholden to a different set of regulations.
Thank you.
And then the last one is the commercial minimum size limit for razor clams, which would be consistent with the recreational size of 4 inches.
Anything from the committee? I feel like everyone's kind of on board with this. Anything from the public? Agree with the airport?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that-
I mean, it's a
that's
baseline,
what the
it's
rain, that's what the rain has
consistent.
done too.
You know.
It was historically
Well, yeah,
where
that's
we
why I
got
looked
our
for the rain.
rainfall.
Anyways, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's what the state deferred to until we had rainfall gauges. It's consistent, it's, government run, so we don't have to worry about if like somebody sells their house and doesn't decide to keep the weather station. It's dependable and kind of doesn't leave any room for argument or confusion.
Someone-
Very good, very thorough, very logical. I think it's a good way to go.
We have someone want to make a motion?
You wanna do it, Tom?
Make a motion to
Just, you make, yep. Go through all those.
The proposed razor clamming regulations and temporal restrictions, 407-8, 407-15, and minimum size limits, 407-6, 407-36, for a vote.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, and that concludes the meeting, right?
Yeah, I don't have any updates on Scudder
Yeah.
as of yet. If I did, I
That's
would
fine
have put
with
it on the
We
agenda.
don't have to vote to adjourn or anything.
I think we do have to vote
Oh, yeah.
to adjourn. Everybody else is leaving, but you guys
Yeah.
have to actually vote to
Okay.
adjourn
I'd like to
and
make a
end the meeting.
motion to adjourn.
All right, second. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, thanks.